This is the kind of stuff that can go wrong when you try to do it yourself.
This is some stuff I would joke about happening.
I thought I was being careful, thought I was being gentle.
And now I'm living it, and I don't like it. This sucks. The Miata's power steering has been leaking and leaving puddles all over my driveway. Exhibit A. So, we've basically got two options to fix this thing. I could replace it, which would cost me about 200 bucks, although it would only take a couple hours and it would definitely work. Or I could take this old nasty one out, blow it apart, and try to fix whatever's leaking. And that would only cost me about $30, although it is gonna take probably 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, I don't know, and I could screw it up. So guess which one we're gonna do? We're gonna take a crack at rebuilding this power steering rack, and along the way we'll talk about how power steering works and why sometimes fixing stuff like this yourself is worth it, and why sometimes it definitely totally is not. And I don't know which way today's gonna go. I'm Zach, and this is Money Pit. Let's get dirty. Okay, so we got the power steering rack out, and it was pretty easy. All we had to do was disconnect the inner tie rods from the outer tie rods. We disconnected the steering shaft from the steering input here, and the fasteners that hold the steering rack itself to the car. So this thing is old. I think it's as old as the car. It seems to be leaking from some of the seals somewhere on the input shaft or the pinion area. So we're gonna take it apart, clean it up, and replace the seals, and hopefully that will stop the leak. What's that, New Orleans? So when you're deciding whether or not doing a DIY project like this is right for you, you need to take into consideration some factors, like the time. How much time is it gonna take you to do? And the money. How much money could this potentially save you? And the tools. Do you already have all the tools that you need to do the job? And how much knowledge you have, what your skill level is. Can you do the job? And ultimately, how reliable you want the thing to be. Because a project like this just is not worth it if it doesn't work at the end. Okay, so we're about ready to rip into this thing. What do you think? So now as this comes apart, we're gonna wanna pay careful attention to the order in which it comes apart so we can put it back together. Okay, so now that we've got this whole thing blown apart and we're at the point of no return, let's take a look at how the steering system actually works. I'm sure you've heard of a rack and pinion, but now you can actually see it. This is your rack and this is your pinion. And when you steer your steering wheel, you turn your pinion, which interacts with your rack and turns your wheels, whichever way you're trying to turn them. Now that's pretty much how it works, whether it's a manual rack and pinion or a power steering rack and pinion. The power part comes in over here. This seal right here divides the rack into two chambers. And one of those chambers will be pressurized depending on which way you're trying to turn. If you're trying to turn to the left, we'll pressurize this side, and that'll help push the steering rack this way to turn left. If you're trying to turn right, it's the exact opposite. Pressure comes over here and pushes this way to help you turn. The question is, how do we tell the pressure which side to go on? Well, that comes back to the pinion, which has a tricky little rotary valve built in. So when you turn the wheel, pressure comes from your power steering pump into here, and you turn your pinion, and that rotary valve makes a determination on which way you're trying to turn and sends pressure to the side that'll help you turn that way. It's honestly really simple. The only problem is when the seals go bad and you have to replace them. So let's replace them.
The seal just broke. What'd you do? I don't know.
Well, I've got terrible news. I was trying to put the rotary valve back onto the pinion, and this seal was apparently a little too stretched out from install and is very fragile. And as I kind of slid it down, we just shocked this seal right in half. Boy, oh boy. This is definitely a mark for the not worth it side of things. This is the kind of stuff that happens, but man, I was being so careful. Now what am I going to do? I don't actually know. I guess it's not completely unreasonable to think that like a Pep Boys nearby might have this kit in stock. I guess I should go hit the old internet.
And what is this part?
It's for a 1994 Mazda Miata.
No, but what part is it?
It's a power steering rack rebuild kit. It's like a seal kit.
Oh, that's seal kit, okay.
They're not going to have it, but hopefully some AutoZone does.
Alright, boss. None of our stores have it, not even our hub. The only way we can get it would be if we order it from the vendor, but that would be here till Tuesday.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. I think I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, boss.
All right, no problem. Thanks, man.
Alright, yeah, bye-bye.
Have a good one. These are the brakes, kids. These are the brakes.
All right, so over the weekend I did some learning, did some researching, and I learned a lot about Teflon seals. Basically, the problem with these is that when you install them on something like this, you kind of have to stretch them out to get them into place, and then they're a little bit too big, so you need to figure out how to shrink them back down. Basically, what we're gonna do is put the new seal in some hot water before we install it. That should help make it a little bit pliable, maybe expand it a tiny bit, and then once it's in place, I'm gonna whip up a little tool out of a 2 liter of Coke that should help us force it back down to a smaller size so we can install it without destroying it. Should have done that research ahead of time, probably, but hey, we're here now. All right, let's give it a shot.
It hasn't been that long.
Well, how long do you think it takes to warm that little tiny thing up?
At least more than 2 minutes.
What do you mean? It's as hot as the temperature of the water now. The thing's tiny, I ain't got no heat capacity.
We got one shot.
Well, what do you think I have learned? All right, so that's the easy part. We got this far last time. The problem now is how baggy the seal still is. Now we gotta make it be smaller. We'll see where we get with this, and if it still looks too baggy, I'll stick it in the freezer. For show. Where's my scissors? Pop the screw.
That is not gonna do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that is my concern. The idea here is the pressure from the hose clamp will force the seal to shrink back up to its original size, or at least close to it. As long as we can get it in place, it should be fine. The power steering worked fine on the Miata, and then we had to get in here and fix it and ruin it, you know what I mean? Honestly, what I could have done is, there was nothing wrong with this seal. I didn't really have to go this deep. I didn't have to replace these Teflon seals, but we had new seals, so I figured I might as well. That was my mistake. Okay, let's take this thing off and see if it looks any better. It looks better. It's definitely not as baggy. I could see a gap before. I mean, I think we probably should try to freeze it and see if that helps at all, but that looks better for sure. Oh yeah, that's definitely better. This is gonna work.
All right, it is the official moment of truth. I just pulled this out of the freezer, and between the hose clamp thing and the freezer, this seal looks pretty good. It's pretty tight on here, and I think we're gonna be able to get it installed. But if we can't get it installed, if I break it, then that's it for power steering. I'm so nervous. Oh, I'm so scared. It's got to drop down into that. This is the hard part. This is where I broke it last time. It looks pretty good. I think it's gonna go. You can see it right in there. I think it's going into its groove. I think it worked. Okay, cool. Never looking back. All right, so the seal went in, I'm pretty sure. Didn't feel like it broke, felt great. So I think we can just continue. Slam this thing back together and put it back in the car, and hopefully we'll have no leaks. I mean, that's the whole thing. You know, this whole seal thing, yeah, we got this seal in, but this wasn't even our leak to begin with. And just because I got this done doesn't mean that I fixed the leak. We could still put this thing back together and it could still leak. So this is a victory, but it's not everything. So let's just keep going before we get too happy with ourselves. I guess from this point on, we're gonna go gloves. Okay, so we are almost back together. I'm about ready to tie my boots into place, but before I do that, I'm gonna find center on the rack so that when we put it back in, we're putting it in the center of its travel, left and right. So to do that, basically I have the rack turned as if it were turned all the way to the right, and this is our entire amount of travel. So right in the middle of this should be the center of our rack. So I'm measuring the entire thing, then dividing it by half. I'll make a little mark there. I'll run it in until we hit that mark, and then that's how I'll know that we're at center. That's approximately our center point. So we'll run until that. So that should be about center for us. Cool. So now we'll put our boots on and then put this thing back in the car. What do you think about that?
I love it.
Since I have the rack out and the power washer's right there and hooked up, I'm gonna blast this real quick, get all this grime off of here. You got some water on your lens. All right, we're finally ready to put this rack back in and see if we fixed the leak. So I'm gonna slide it onto the steering column and then mount it up. Ooh. All right, so last week when we were taking this thing apart, I took some paint marker and I marked on the ends of our tie rods where our tie rod ends met up with the threads here, so that when we put things back together, we could roughly target what our original alignment was. This will get us into the ballpark, and it should make the car drivable if you're doing this at home and you're not able to align it after the fact. But you should be able to align it if you watch this video. So the last things we gotta do are pour some fluid in the system, then bleed it, then start the car and see if it leaks. I've currently got the car off and I'm just going lock to lock, all the way right, then all the way left. 15 or 20 times, and that'll force fluid through the rack and force air out. And then I'll do the same thing with the car running, just to make sure. That would suck worse than anything if like it leaked from somewhere else now. Can you even imagine? Well, this is the moment of truth. Let's turn it on and see if all this work's been worth it or for the birds. Okay, now no huge leaks on first startup, so that's good news. Now I'm gonna check the fluid level, make sure we didn't suck a bunch down, make sure our level's still good. Little low, little low. Right in the middle. Voila. Everything looks bone dry and really nice, so far so good. Now, all right, let's take her for a spin.
Well, it's just a puddle.
No.
Oh no. I wonder what is the... I mean, that's just completely I've never seen anything like this in my life. I can't believe this. This is some stuff I would joke about happening. And now I'm living it, and I don't like it. Ah! So what do you guys think? Is this worth it? You want to get into cars? Well, I mean, this sucks. That is so sad. I think we just saw the last of the power steering in this Miata, because I don't know, I'm not sure what I did wrong or which seal I busted or what, but it's leaking all of the fluid onto the ground now. So, you know what I mean? This is how it goes, I guess. Let's actually recap that real quick. In terms of time, well, I'm not done yet, so this has taken so much more time than I anticipated. Money, well, I'm not done spending yet, maybe, especially if you believe that time is money. Well, in terms of tools, I thought I had all the tools I needed to start with, but then there was that kind of weird seal issue, which I didn't have the right expensive tool for, so I tried to make one, and we saw how that went. But I did learn a thing or two. I mean, did I? I can't even say that I officially learned anything because we're leaking so much fluid. So apparently I didn't learn anything, and that is the biggest bummer of all to me, I think. I thought, you know what, hey, this has been a bit of a struggle. There have been some hurdles. We didn't save that much money, but at least I learned something, and at least we rebuilt a power steering pump. But now I can't even say that. So honestly, I'm so disappointed in the way this has gone. I've never had so much trouble with something like this, and it sucks. So this was not worth it at all. I should have just bought a remanufactured power steering rack from the get-go, or done what everybody else does and just delete the power steering and be done with it. Get rid of one more pump, you know what I mean? This one was not worth it at all. I'm Zach, and this has been one hell of a money pit. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I haven't. Now that we've got these huge puddles of power steering fluid in the driveway, we're gonna have to figure out how to clean my driveway. So get ready for that. And if you guys saw me, if anybody knows a thing or two about rebuilding power steering racks and you saw me do something blatantly wrong that caused this, tell me, please.